Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Ramona Fieser, Marketing Manager and your moderator. A few housekeeping notes before we start. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A section and we will address them at the end of the discussion as time allows. Lastly, the webinar recording will be sent to you. Now I want to introduce you to our speakers. Mark Blacking, he's the product owner and founder of Movilitas.Cloud. He's a technology leader with proven expertise in setting strategic roadmaps, executing IT projects, and IT consulting for multinational and complex corporations. He has deep expertise in supply chain with a focus on product identification, integrity, and tracking. And then we have our guest speaker, Klaus Immig from Boehringer Ingelheim. He's responsible for the IT operations for supply chain integrity at Boehringer Ingelheim. He's a proven specialist in serialization, track and trace, and contributed to global solutions inside and outside Boehringer Ingelheim. Thank you very much for joining us today, Klaus. Now let's jump in and I turn over the presentation to Mark.
Thank you very much, Ramona. Welcome everybody. Hello. Good afternoon, good morning for some people in the US. We want to do a quick poll to get an idea about the audience, what they're looking for. So Ramona, maybe you want to start the poll for this one?
Yes. So you are able to see the poll question now. We will give you a minute to answer. Then the question is, are there any serialization requirements you are trying to solve? Printing of labels, aggregation, regulation compliance or brand protection, business partner integration, or other. So while we are waiting, Mark, what do you think is the most pressing topic of these?
Yeah, it's difficult to say because it depends a little bit on the audience or so, but I kind of have the feeling that printing of labels is something that people really need, especially SSCC labels also. And regulatory compliance is a very important piece still today.
Yeah. Okay. So I see the answers coming in. And I think we can now share the results. So we've got 22% printing of labels, 11% for aggregation, 33% regulatory compliance, 11% business partner integration, and 22% other.
Okay. It would be nice, of course, to understand what the others are also, but it is a little bit as expected. Regulatory compliance stays important, and printing becomes more and more a topic to be flexible.
All right.
You can still see my screen, I think. So let's go over to the agenda. So we like to talk a little bit about why cloud. Movilitas.Cloud, as the name already mentions, is a cloud solution delivered as software as a service. And why do people want to move to cloud? I want to give a quick overview about Movilitas.Cloud in general. Then we zoom into serialized manufacturing, one of the major applications, and take a quick look at the system. Then we have Klaus, who is willing to share his story about how he has applied this product within the solution in the animal health in a US plant for China. Then we have some other use cases from other customers that have implemented this solution. And then at the end, we have some time to answer some questions and answers, hopefully, to those questions. So why do people move to the cloud, or why do we need to really consider for future projects to look at the cloud? Well, it's not only us, because we have Movilitas.Cloud, that we like people to use it. I mean, there are some studies done also why it's really beneficial for businesses really consider moving to the cloud. One of the reports is from Harvard Business Review if people want to read it. But the very important thing is quick time to value. I mean, systems already installed, it's delivered as a service, so you can actually start it up, start using it immediately. So you can get value out of it a lot faster than if you need to buy a license, you need to install it, you need to configure it all on premise. Another nice thing about the cloud is that it can break up the silos, where different departments build their own systems, their own solutions, which are hard to integrate. It's a lot easier to integrate it over the internet. Real-time communication and collaboration. This is more and more important. You're not working on your own. You're working with other companies, you're working with partners, you work with customers, you work with suppliers, and in real time, you like to communicate information to be more efficient and to do better planning, better understanding where everything is. Securing and reliable infrastructure is, of course, important. You need to make sure that your data is secure, that people cannot manipulate it. And that is actually a lot easier to make happening in the cloud. Of course, if you put it on a server and that server is not connected to anything, that is a lot easier. But today, everything is connected somehow to the outside world. And then it becomes already a little bit more difficult. Also, modular systems, you like to have the possibility to connect to different existing systems. People have on-premise systems, people have other cloud solutions. And in our case, we mainly like to connect to systems like SAP or a TraceLink system. Another nice thing is flexible payment models. Because it's in the cloud, you can easily calculate how people are using it, what they're using it, and you can actually charge for what people actually use instead of charging them a big part and they only using part of it. So those are a lot of things why people can move to the cloud. There are a lot more other reasons. If you look a little bit at Movilitas.Cloud, where we like to focus on with our solutions, it's all around track and trace. It's around brand protection. Yeah. Why do you want to serialize your products? Well, because you want to protect your brand, or you want to actually track and trace your products throughout the supply chain. You also want to do that for anti-counterfeiting. That is why all these laws are being put in place around medicines, so that we can ban the fake medicines out of the market. You also like to have a visibility of your production process. You like to have visibility about your transports. If your warehouse is mainly on the road, you like to be able to visualize where your products are. Diversions, you like to be able to kind of calculate when do you expect your products to arrive. The whole supply chain integrity. You like to connect to your business partners to make sure that you share information throughout the supply chain. Batch genealogy, another important piece. If something is wrong with a particular batch, you like to be able to very quickly find out that batch, where has it been used in. And warranty verification, another big topic when you talk about consumer goods, goods that are used in production environments. You like to be able to serialize them so you can actually see, okay, what is the warranty of this one? Is it end of life? What is a new product that you like to replace it with? So these are all kind of use cases where Movilitas.Cloud likes to provide an answer on. If you look at the solutions that we mainly focus on today, they're really broken down in serialized manufacturing and serialized logistics. Yeah? Today, the topic is serialized manufacturing, which is the top part. And we actually try to look at the moment from the batch production, where you actually produce a batch, which you make from other batches, and then you actually like to serialize it. And serialization is nothing else than to give every trade item a unique number. Yeah? If I make 10 liters of soup, I put it in 10 bottles of 1 liter, I give them number 1 to 10, then I have a very simple serialization. What we do actually, we do it at a large scale on every single trade item, on every single pack. Second step is then the aggregation, because you like to be able to really ship it in an easy way. If you have 100 packs, you prefer to put them in kind of a case so you can pick up the case and move it, instead of having 100 packs that you need to move around. Or you can put cases on a pallet and you can just pick up a whole pallet and put it into a truck. Yeah? So the only reason why we do aggregation is to make the logistics process easier. And you like to give serial numbers to those logistics units, typically an SCCC, the serial shipping container code. So the serialized manufacturing application actually supports that process. We do that for medicines, but you can apply it to a lot of other products. You can apply it to luxury goods, you can apply it to food and beverage, you can apply it in principle to any good that you like to track and trace. What is also important is that there is more and more legislation when it comes to medicines, and we actually support the interfaces to the different regulatory systems. So we are connected to Europe, we're connected to Russia, we are connected to the Indonesian system, and we're heavily involved in the activities in the US, which needs to go live next year. November next year, it's full track and trace. Some parts are already active, but full track and trace is November next year. The bottom part is actually serialized logistics. We will have a separate webinar on that one. And the repacking is a specific topic that we will also cover at a later phase. So if we look at the cloud solution, as we said, it is software as a service. It is delivered to you as a service by us, so you don't have to install anything locally, except maybe an application on your mobile device if you want to use scanning. So here you see the extensions. We have a Movilitas Mobile, and Movilitas Mobile is just an app that you can install on your mobile phone, iPhone, Android, or you can install it on industrial scanners, and that allows you to do scanning operations. And we also allow printing of labels, and we can print straight to Zebra Cloud Connect printers, or you can use the nice Label Cloud to print. And that is to print labels. You see that with serialized manufacturing. Klaus will also talk about it because he's using that in his project. We talk about serialization, aggregation, integration with the shop floor. That means if you have a fully automated packaging line, you like to integrate it with our system. Reporting to the governmental systems, integrating MEH and CMO. So that is specific when we talk about medicines. MEH is the company having the license to put the products on the market. So they are the ones that normally need to report. The CMO is a company that can actually do the packaging process for you. So a lot of MEHs, they outsource the packaging or the production. Well, in that case, you of course need to have a clear interface about serial numbers with those companies because they make it, they serialize it, and you stay responsible for reporting. And a lot of times you stay responsible for the actual serial numbers that are not duplicated and things like that. And then the repackaging, that is specifically for Europe, where you actually take products, take it out of the package, put it in a new packet, give it a new number, and put it on the market again. Yeah. Serialized logistics, as I said, is all around inbound, outbound. Some companies use the combination of the two, but serialized logistics is a topic for a later webinar. Everything that we do is actually stored, and you can use it for reporting and analysis. Also very important for manufacturing that you keep a record of everything that you do. Movilitas.Cloud is actually in the cloud, and you like to connect it to other systems or to other environments. And this is what we call channels. So Movilitas.Cloud has its own repository, so you can store all the serials, all the SCCs. But for companies that have a repository like SAP HTTP or TraceLink, we provide channels towards those systems. Yeah? And when Klaus talks about his project, we will hear about it also. And if you move to the left, we also have collaboration channels. So within Movilitas.Cloud, you can connect to your partners. But of course, there are players, very big players on the market that is used widely by the market. At that moment, we connect to those systems. So we can connect to SAP ICH because Movilitas is an SAP Cold partner. So we implement a lot of SAP solutions also with Movilitas, and we can connect to those systems. TraceLink, another very big player when it comes to serialization, we can connect to those systems also. And more and more customers connect for scanning purposes and things like that. If you want to build an integration with us, with your ERP, your warehouse management system, we provide API channels. And those can also be used to actually do integration with the shop floor systems. And we provide webhooks. So webhooks, you can take a subscription to a webhook, and then we can report back to your system. Yeah? So you can send orders, and we can report back the status of an order. Printing channels. So to print SCCC labels or to print serialized labels, you can actually connect your printers. As I said, Nice Label.Cloud is a cloud platform from Loftware that can be used. Zebra Cloud Connect are printers that can connect straight to Movilitas.Cloud, and we can print straight to those printers. Shop floor channels. So Wipotec is a provider of packaging lines. We have a standard connector, so you can connect straight to that machine and send production orders, or you can use a cloud gate to kind of provide a link to on-premise systems. Yeah? Communication, our system can communicate to you over email and SMS. So when alerts are happening, when there is a problem with a channel or something like that, we actually inform you by email or by SMS. Sensor channels we have, so that means we have a time series database, and you can connect sensors. So if you want to follow the temperature during transport, or you want to make sure that doors are not being opened during transport so that there is no counterfeit during transport, that can all be integrated. And finally, the regulatory channels. So Europe, we completely cover. Russia, we have connections, although with the given situation, that is a little bit more difficult, of course. BPOM, that is the system in Indonesia, where we are connected to. It's not being enforced yet in Indonesia, but technically we can provide the link. And we are a complete VRS provider, meaning we can act as a requester and a responder, and we have solutions to support you there. Some key facts, and I'm going quickly over this. So what is important is they're out-of-the-box solutions. Yeah? So it's quick because it's standard. So we don't provide customized solutions. Yeah? You can use it the way it is being used, but more and more functionality is added every 3 months, so you can do more and more things with it. Yeah? It's also a certified, it is kept in a validated state. Yeah? That is important because in life sciences, you need to use validated software. No major investments. I mean, you can start using it because you don't have to buy servers. You don't have to install anything. You don't have to build up networks. It's all there. Secure is important. We have done with customers penetration testing, which is also important for people to validate that they can actually not get access to the data or somebody can intrude it. The serialized logistics application is also available in the SAP store. That is for some SAP customers important that it is there. We provide 24/7 support if that is required. Integration packaging line I talked about. You can actually integrate your partners. We follow the products throughout the whole supply chain. It's scalable. You can start very small and then you can increase it. High available infrastructure. So we spread over multiple data centers, so it's always on, and that is important. And everything you do, you can do yourself. Yeah, so you can configure it yourself, you can set it up yourself. User documentation is available. We can, of course, support you, but in principle, you can do everything yourself. Let's take a very quick look at the system. And I'm just going to move over to show you very quickly what we have. Again, I'm just going over the menu items so you have a glimpse of what is there. So first of all, the product step. So under the product step, you kind of define some master data about your products. And you can see for the different markets that we have here, there is different data that you need to actually specify. The products for Europe, for example, you need to specify this information. You need to specify the countries, TMEHs, 3PLs, and this can all be uploaded towards the EU hub. Yeah? If you look at Indonesia, for example, you see you have different data like NI, highest retail price, product licenses. Yeah? And that is different from country to country. We also have product groups, so you can actually group your products and you can search based on those groups. We have batches or lots, yeah? So you can actually create lots. They're made in the system and you scan also, and you can also follow how many products you actually have. Yeah? So in this case, you can see, well, you have 60 packs that are actually part of this batch, and you can see that 47 are actually commissioned to an external system. 6 are actually active, meaning they are produced, but they're not commissioned to an external source, and 4 already decommissioned. Yeah? So you can keep track and have a very quick view on those things. If you want to take a look at the SCCC pool, well, first of all, about the serial number pool, you can actually see here the serial numbers for one particular product. Yeah? So if you open up this product, you can take a look at, you see 47,000 available serials, and we have already 68 assigned ones. So you can take a quick look about the status of your serial numbers. You can do the same for your SCCCs. Yeah? So, and you keep a complete history about your SCCCs, your containers, when is the number created, when it is being actually, a container is created, and when things are being moved around. If you want to take a quicker look in detail, you can look up one particular SCCC. So this SCCC, actually in the pool, you can see when a number is created, you can see when the container is created, and then we have the digital twin, which is the container itself. Yeah? So you see how the two systems are being built up. You can even see what is in the container. So you can see that this particular SCCC contains 2 trade items. Yeah? If it would be connected to a parent, you would see the parent. You can do the same at pack level. So if you want to take a look at the pack, you can see again the history of the serial numbers, and you can see the digital twin, which is actually the pack. And you can see the different statuses, when it was created, when it was commissioned, and when it was actually packed into an SCCC, and you can even see the parent it is being packed to. Then we have some site management. So you can actually define the sites where you do your production. You can define your CMOs if you have CMOs. So you can define the CMO, and you can also define the products that a CMO is actually making for you, and you can manage the serial numbers that you're exchanging with a CMO. If you're a CMO, you can manage your MEHs here. Yeah? So you can make the connection to your MEHs. You can also actually set up here the 3PLs. So that is also important for Europe because you need to specify the 3PLs that are handling your products if you want to make them a dedicated wholesale. And finally, you can manage your operators. This is mainly used in the logistics part, but we also have a manual commissioning. So if you have very small batches, you can print labels and you can manually commission them. You have the packaging. You can define packaging lines. So if you have automated packaging lines, you can define them. You can even have the links set up so you can download the orders. You can specify packaging orders. They can be sent from an ERP system to us, and you can release them to the lines, or you can keep track of the progress of your orders. The commissioning. So everything that is being produced ends up in this commissioning page, and you can manually commission. Also, you can do it automatically, but if you want to do it manually, you can see everything. You can see the aggregated packs. You can see the single packs. You can release them to different markets. If you want to print labels, you can specify your destinations. So that can be a printer connected to Movilitas.Cloud, or it can be a Zebra Cloud Connect printer. You can create printing orders. So those printing orders, and you can then print it straight to the printer that you actually specified. And finally, you can specify the template. So in case you have Zebra Cloud Connect printers, you can specify the CPL code that is being sent to the printer. And finally, under settings, you can set up some things, and you can see for the different markets, you can define where the commissioning needs to take place. It can go to SAP ICH, it can go to European Hub, it can go to BPOM, it can go to a TraceLink system. I mean, you're flexible in setting these things up. So that is a quick look at the system. And finally, we have the manufacturing V2 API. So these are the API calls you can use to build your own integrations. Last slide about the printing. 3 ways of printing. You can connect Zebra Cloud Connect printers straight to Movilitas.Cloud. So we have an endpoint, and then we print straight to the printer. We can connect to Nice Cloud, and then you can either hook up your printers through a PC to Nice Label, and then we can access it, and we have access to all the label designs. Or you can connect that printer to Nice Label Cloud instead of to us, and then we can print that way also, and use again the label designs at the Nice Label Cloud. I think that ends my story for the moment, and then I can hand it over to Klaus to talk about your story. Klaus, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good day to those in Europe. Good morning to North America. Y buenos días a la gente más al sur. And I want to speak a little bit about the challenges we had in our plant in Gainesville in Georgia, where a relatively complicated product is made. That's a vaccine that requires refrigeration during the transport and storage. And so we have this requirement to serialize that product before it goes into China. And if I may direct your attention to this picture in the lower right-hand corner, that is a nitrogen tank that carries 7 dippers. They are like big soup scoops, and then these soup scoops are sticks where you click the different or the individual vials into. And each of these dippers is actually the sellable product. So it's a poultry vaccine, so you don't just vaccinate a single chicken, it's for chicken farms. So you get that whole dipper and you go out to vaccinate your population there. The label is applied to this dipper. It carries the serial number. And as Mark indicated, there is a link from Movilitas.Cloud to packaging lines. This product here does not require high volume of printing, nor can you run this nitrogen tank through a packaging line very easily. And so we had to be a little bit creative also in wake of the fact that the product will be transferred from Gainesville into a plant in China over the next 2 years. Right, next slide, please. Right, so this is what the label looks like. The information printed on the label refers to a license that the manufacturer of a medical product has to receive from the Ministry of Agriculture in China. Based upon this license, the manufacturer must obtain serial numbers that refer to this license, and that's just a big blob of numbers. And the problem we have is that out of this blob of numbers, we have to first of all assign these serial numbers to a specific product, and then to the different packaging hierarchies of the product. Like I said, we don't have this here in Gainesville, but in our sites in Taichu, China, or in Puerto Rico, we do serialize, we do aggregate, and we have different packaging layers that need to be addressed. And the other challenge we have is that the code that MOA requires is a QR code, not a 2D code, like in most other serialization requirements. And this code becomes relatively dense based upon the content that we have. So the QR code has to carry this serial number and license information, manufacturer information, and of course product details in Chinese characters. And that is why the code becomes relatively complex. Looking at this little snippet down there, that shows how the information has to be relayed to the MOA in China. So it's nothing that you would recognize from any other legislation, totally proprietary. But that is something that we have accomplished to take out of production and put this into our ATTP SAP layer. Next slide, please. So how does that work? The first step that a manufacturing site needs to do is ask for serial numbers. So we have a connection from Movilitas.Cloud through the SAP ICH cloud layer. Compare that as a transport layer between without application logic, where the data flows from Movilitas.Cloud into SAP ATTP. In ATTP, we maintain an inventory of serial numbers so that a serial number request can be responded to instantaneously. Where does ATTP get the numbers from? That's a little bit of a problem because the MOA has no automated machine-to-machine interfaces. We need somebody in China to interact with the MOA on behalf of the manufacturers. So we have a process set up so that we have a replenishment procedure before ATTP runs dry of serial numbers. We reach out to China automatically. The team in China gets the serial numbers, puts them into ATTP. So that production should not be interrupted because there's no serial numbers anymore. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. That is the architecture. So like I said, Gainesville is set up like a CMO. All of our CMOs live behind that ICH layer, and Movilitas.Cloud is not directly connected to our backend system, to our ATTP system, but like all external systems, we run it through ICH. But the beauty of that is we have this setup here, even though it's a Boehringer Ingelheim owned plant, this could very, very easily be deployed to any contract manufacturer who would have to fulfill the animal health for China requirements. And we built the interfaces in a way that for the manufacturing side, it is not even very much transparent that they're now dealing with animal health for China. It is serial numbers, and we're speaking EPCIS amongst each other, so industry standard. So once a partner is onboarded, we can throw anything at them. Serialization for human pharma Russia. Here comes the serial number and crypto codes. Print it and send it back, or any other requirement. ATTP, we have worked with SAP to actually enable ATTP in the background to interact with the MOA in China. It has the license management where we observe the validity of the licenses, where we observe the inventory of serial numbers. It can obviously react to a serial number request and respond to it. It has the threshold management, when to replenish, and most importantly, it can speak the regulatory language to China and with the regulatory reporting. And that all, except for those reports going out to the MOA, all following GS1 standard. Next slide, please. All right, so when the serial numbers have been requested and are present in the plant, then the manufacturing can begin. This one here was a little bit tricky because we need lot information inside the Movilitas.Cloud. And so there is a functionality where a lot record can be created. But one of the items that we really put emphasis on is that there is a second set of eyes rule. So when one person creates the lot information, we want this lot record is not automatically released. We want a second person to actually go in and check that the information is accurate, that all of the parameters like material number, GTIN, batch ID, manufacturing, and expiry date are accurate and properly set, and only the second person can put the release on that lot record. Okay, then next slide, please. Yeah. And once that lot record is released, one can create a print order by choosing the GTIN and lot combination. And you have two options there. Either you print this order right away, or you just let it sit and wait until production is ready, that the pharmaceutical release has happened of that lot, and then the stickers are applied to those stickers that I showed earlier. When the print order is released, either immediately or with a delay, Movilitas.Cloud creates the print layout of this label, merging the information from the material master that is enriched with all these Chinese parameters that were shown earlier, plus the serial number, and sends that CPL file to the CPRO printer. What you see here in the lower left-hand corner is just depicts all of the data elements that we need, but it's not the real label, just as an FYI. Right, next slide, please. Cool. The next step and the last step in the process is scanning before shipment. So an operator will actually take the labels and will apply one label to each dipper in the nitrogen tank. And with the application of the label, the QR code is being scanned. And this scan has triggers two steps. One is the commissioning, which builds the PCIS message towards ATTP that tells ATTP now that serial number that Gainesville has received is now consumed and it belongs to a particular batch, plus the shipment. And the shipment is very important on ATTP layer because we use that shipment event to actually trigger the regulatory reporting out to the MOA, where we create the warehouse in file telling the MOA which serial numbers belong to what batch, and then ultimately the warehouse out, where the same serial numbers are now put into an in-transit status while en route between Gainesville and China. Upon arrival in China, the warehouse operator there scans the same number, puts it into in stock in the MOA system. So the MOA has a clean record of when did which player along the supply chain gain custody over a given product. So these messages, like I said, are really the key where we want to be. We have excellent installations with our SysTech sites where the volume is higher, but this one was a very, very good opportunity to gain compliance at a very cost efficient and a very, very economical way. And like I said, it can be used for any other requirement, human pharma with a slight adaptation, or put into a CMO to just, connect their printing devices and continue on with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Klaus. There is room to ask questions at the end also, but let's quickly take a look at some other use cases because that is the beauty. It's one product, so as I said, it's a standard out-of-the-box solution, but depending on how you configure it, you can use it for different use cases. This is an example from Indonesia. Also, legislation will start there because of COVID. There are delays. So it is not being enforced yet, but companies need to get ready, and we have a full-blown interface to BPOM. And BPOM is actually the FDA of Indonesia. Again, what is Movilitas.Cloud being used for? When we talk about the manufacturing part, same thing, the products are being registered, the packaging orders are being sent from an ERP system to Movilitas.Cloud. In this case, it's actually the Domino system that is completely integrated with Movilitas.Cloud. And this integration is completely built based on the APIs that are available. So the DSM, the data serialization manager of Domino, can check, okay, are there open orders? They can request an order. They can get all the details. They can actually start doing the serialization in the printing station. They can do the aggregation and do another aggregation. Yeah. So in this phase, the serialization is done. Then they actually have a phase where they can make show boxes and they give that level a number. And those boxes can go into a case and they give those cases a number. All that information is being reported back to Movilitas.Cloud. So we know what packs are being produced. We know the aggregations. We know the different levels. And actually all that information needs to be reported to BPOM. The other parts are also reported. So in Indonesia, it's full track and trace. You need to report the packs, you need to report the SACs, you need to report the aggregations. That is all done with serialized manufacturing. And then shipping, receiving, returns is all done with serialized logistics, which is another topic. So that is how Conimex is using it. Another use case is from a company, Asino, in Switzerland. They're using it for different things, but one of the things they're using it here for also is actually to connect to MEHs. So in this case, they act as a CMO, contract manufacturing organization. So they produce on behalf of another company. And in this case, that other company is using TraceLink. Asino is using SAP ATTP as their repository. And they're using Movilitas.Cloud in the middle to make sure that the communication between the two companies is being handled. Nice thing is that this is not just exchanging files, this is actually the decoupling of the two connections. And why is that important? Well, that's important because if SAP ATTP is requesting serials from us or requesting SACs from us, for this particular MEH, it's coming from TraceLink, but tomorrow it can be an MEH that is using SAP ICH, or it is an MEH that is using Movilitas.Cloud on its own. And at that moment, everything can be exchanged. Yeah? So what can SAP ATTP do? It can request serials, and we actually respond from our pool. If our pool doesn't have enough serials, we can fill it up by requesting it, in this case, from a TraceLink channel. Yeah? In this case, it's also requesting serials for the Russian market. And in Russia, you also need to have crypto codes and crypto keys. So crypto codes and crypto keys can also be handled with our platform. SSDs can be requested, and when the production is being completed, ATTP will commission the serials, commission the SSDs, and communicate the aggregations back to us in the form of EPCS messages. We receive it, we confirm it to the messages that are required for TraceLink, and we update the TraceLink system, and TraceLink updates, in this case, the OMS system in Russia. Yeah. So you see, we're very flexible. We can update other systems to update the regulatory systems, or we can actually have our own connection to Russia. Yeah. That is how this particular use case works. We have another use case where actually the MEH is using Movilitas.Cloud, and they need to connect to different CMOs. In this case, we have different CMOs. Some CMOs just need to receive serial numbers into a CSV file, and they report back in a CSV file that is automated. We have CMOs that are connected to TraceLink, and we actually receive a shipping file back. So when the products are being shipped back to Abusan, in this case, we receive from TraceLink a shipping file, and based on that, we know what packs are being produced and what the aggregation is. And we can actually update at that moment the European hub, the MVO. Yeah. Two things are important. We can upload master data, and we can actually upload pack data. In Europe, we don't have aggregations yet, so you only need to report packs that are being produced, but you also need to report to the manufacturers. So you need to report a CMO that produces it, so that is all automated. And you need to report also your dedicated wholesalers that you want to use. Yeah? So that is why those 3PLs are important, that you can define them. So that is all reported. What they're also doing, they're also importing some products from other countries and sell them on the local market. At that moment, they need to do verifications, and that is done towards an NMVS. Because they're located in Austria, they need to connect to the Austrian NMVS, but we're actually connected to any NMVS in Europe. So this is an example, the serialized manufacturing that is used by an MEH in Europe. So what are the next steps? Well, as we said, please tell us your use case. So if you have a particular project, I mean, just talk with us, tell us your use case, and we will let you know if it can be used immediately or if you can do some modifications to the product to make it better and that you can use it then. Yeah. We also provide all the workflows. So we showed some use cases, all the details about how they configure the system, you can actually find it in our user documentation. We put in there as workflows. So you can get an idea about, okay, how did they configure it? And you can get an idea about how should I configure it myself. But again, please feel free to contact us and we can do that process together with you. You can try the platform. I mean, we don't have to do anything to onboard you. You can do it all yourself. You can just go to Movilitas.com. In the right-hand corner, you see a login button. You click on that and it brings you to this page. And from that page, you can actually sign up to Movilitas.Cloud, start using it, or you can actually access our support portal and you will find all the user manuals. So all our user documentation is available for everybody. You can read it and you can see how it works. My email address is there, my phone number is there. If you have a question as a customer, you have, of course, our support.movilitas.cloud you can always go to. Yeah, but please talk to us if you want to see if your use case can be used. And I think that is pretty much what we had to share. Again, Klaus, I really like to thank you for sharing the details of your project. And I hope for the audience it was a little interesting. Ramona, back to you.
Thank you, Mark and Klaus. Now we will continue with the Q&A. So please type in your questions in the GoToWebinar Q&A section. And I can already see a couple of questions are coming in. So the first one is, do you support decommissioning for parallel importers?
Okay. Well, the answer is yes, but let me move back a little bit to one of the beginning slides, because when we talk about parallel import, that is actually the repackaging process. So when we talk here about repackaging FMD, that is actually an extension of the serialized manufacturing application, specifically focused on repackers. What is the main difference of a repacker? Well, they don't make the packs, so they don't make the product, they actually buy the product, but they take the content out. So at that moment, the product is already serialized. So the first step they need to do is actually scan all the packs, and they need to do a decommissioning of those packs with a specific status for a parallel importer. So that whole process we support, and we actually support a complete manual process for that. And then you can do the repacking, which means you give it a new GTIN, you give it a new serial number. And at that moment, you need to scan all the packs again, or if you have an automated line, which we also support, you can upload it to our system, and then we need to report that again to the European. That whole process from scanning your source products to do the verification, the decommissioning, the repacking, and the commissioning again, we support that whole process. And we have actually different parallel importers in Europe using our system on a day-to-day basis and relying on our system for their complete production. So if there is a parallel importer interested in that, then I can bring you in contact with those customers if you want to also.
Thanks, Mark. I will read the next question. Can I use Movilitas.Cloud without any other system?
Yes, of course, depending on your use case. But Movilitas.Cloud can be used completely on its own, but it can be used in combination with other systems. Especially our mobile seems to be of interest to a lot of people in the market on top of existing solutions. So yes, it can be used completely on its own. We see that more and more with especially small companies that don't have ERPs or they have small ERPs, or it can be used within a more complex landscape in combination with existing systems, either on-premise, we have VPN connections, or cloud-based systems.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer the question?
I hope so. All right, we have another question here. How long does it take to onboard a new company?
Okay, the onboarding can be different. I mean, onboarding is sometimes referred to as onboarding to use the system. Like if you want to start using a cloud-based system as a customer, that onboarding you can completely do yourself. I think I mentioned it at the end, where you can go to the login and you can register yourself. The only thing you need to do during the registration is you need to enter the company name. You need to enter your details. At that moment, what happens is that, you get an email to verify if that is a real email address that is used. And then actually what happens is that the tenant is created for that company that you signed up, and you are assigned as the administrator of that company, and then you're onboarded. So there is nobody from Movilitas or Movilitas.Cloud that is involved. You can do it yourself, and then you can start using the system. If you talk about the onboarding of business partners, it depends a little bit on what product you're using. The wholesaler app, for example, there is an app that is being used for the European law, but we're migrating that functionality to serialized logistics. There is a lot of onboarding happening. And so you have MEHs that use our product, that 3PLs need to scan their products on behalf of them and report it to the NMVS. Well, that is an onboarding process that with some of our customers was taking 2 to 3 months. We have reduced that literally to 20 to 30 minutes. I can even do it in 10 minutes, but that is how quickly it can go, because you can invite your business partner by email address, a little bit like Facebook. You say, you want to be my friend, and then in this case, you want to be my partner. They can accept it. Then the partnership is there. They can download the mobile app from the store. They log in and they can start scanning, and then all the scans are being sent to the MEH, who can then send it to HTTP, for example. So that onboarding process can be done quicker and quicker, and we like to have the same speed for the manufacturing to connect MEHs and CMOs and vice versa. So that is an important piece, and especially for the US, that is becoming a very important piece, because in the US, you don't have a central system. So it means you need to exchange EPCS messages with your business partners. And there we really like to make a big difference to say, okay, your onboarding of business partners should go very fast. Otherwise, the smaller companies will never be able to afford it. And technically, it's also very complex for them, because it's, EPCS is simple if you know what you're doing, but if you don't have an IT department that can support you there, and even if you have an IT department that can support you there, it's sometimes a challenge. So I hope that is an answer, Ramona.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have time for one more question. What ERP WMS can be connected to Movilitas.Cloud?
To be very honest, we actually cannot see what system you're connecting, because the way that they are connected, so we are not making custom solutions. So for ERP systems, for example, we don't have standard out-of-the-box ERP connectors. Why? Because if you interface with ERP systems, most of the time it's custom. I mean, the data that you like to transfer is kind of custom. So the approach we have taken there is that we provide, it's still on the screen, I think, we provide API channels. That means you can send the information to us. So typically an ERP would send an order to our endpoint, and that is then normally configured on the ERP side, or companies use some middleware to set it up. Yeah, and there are a lot of middleware solutions on the market that can kind of draw that even in the low code type of environments. To communicate back to the ERP system, we actually use webhooks. And what is a webhook? A webhook is actually, you can kind of take a subscription to our system, say, okay, Movilitas.Cloud, if you have an update on this order, please tell me. That is typically what a webhook is doing. So the process is then you send an order to us over the API channel, and you tell to the webhook, well, if you have an update about this order, send it to this address. And then we just send all the information to the address. The ERP can pick it up, or the warehouse management can pick it up, and they can take that information that is of interest and update the ERP system. So that is a very modern way of, and a very flexible way of building interfaces with a system. Actually, the way the internet kind of works today. Yeah. So that is how the integration is done. I know we have customers that have integrated SAP, of course, because Movilitas is very close. The consulting group at SAP, of course. I know we have interfaces with Oracle. We have some with Business One. We have one with Odoo. That is a smaller, for smaller companies being used. Yeah, and for some customers, we have absolutely no clue what the system is that is behind it. We can only see the message coming in, and we can only see where we send it to, but that doesn't tell us much. But there are examples if people want to learn more about it, or if they want to play with it. I mean, they can do it also.
All right, thank you, Mark. This is all the time we have today. Thank you, Mark and Klaus, for this great session. So if you're interested in more use cases, in the handout section of the GoToWebinar panel, you can find additional customer case studies for download. We know your time is valuable, and on behalf of the team, I want to thank everyone for joining. Have a great day and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.